Are you a Catholic?
I am.
Do you know who saved the religion? Let's go and check it out. In 1466, a Dutch humanist, Desiderius Erasmus, was born in Switzerland. His father was a priest and his mother was the daughter of a physician. However, both of his parents became victims of the bubonic plague and died when Erasmus was at a young age. After his parents' death, Erasmus was forced to go to a master's school along with his brother by his relatives. Fortunately, because of Erasmus' intelligence, he was discovered by the Bishop of Cambrai who came to visit Italy. They picked Erasmus as the secretary for Henry de Bergen. He then moved to France to continue to pursue his studies. With the help of Henry de Bergen, as time went by, Erasmus became fluent in Latin and excelled in literature. He also knew about the Renaissance humanism in France. The Catholic churches were losing powers over politicians. People stopped being under the control of Catholic churches and needed evidence to prove religion existed. The economy of churches became worse and the priests and officials used nasty ways to earn money, such as asking people to throw money into the box, then they would get blessed and go to heaven. They killed people who wanted reformation, since they did not want the reformers to affect people who believed that churches should not change. He noticed the churches were abusing their powers towards people, which was the complete opposite of what Catholicism really meant from his knowledge achieved from his studies. He published books that were skeptical towards the Catholic churches and wrote down his enlightenment of Catholicism. Erasmus translated the ancient Bible into Latin and Greek and annotated the New Testament in 1516. He made use of the trend in the Renaissance and asked people to read for themselves. He also wrote about politics, languages, religions, and more knowledgeable books, such as In Praise of Folly, Colloquies, and Handbook of Christian Knight. Erasmus' ideas spread and people got knowledge from his books and thought critically. As a result, it made other people realize the values of Catholicism and support his reformation of churches. Erasmus advocated the idea of reformation of Catholic churches. Christianity ideas started to spread among people. More and more people began to believe in Christianity again. Martin Luther published books about the value of Catholicism, which was where Erasmus learned his enlightenment. Both Erasmus and Martin Luther were devoted Christians. Erasmus read the books that Martin Luther wrote and noticed the leaders of church abusing their powers. Therefore he advocated the Reformation. The printing press inventor, Johannes Gutenberg, inspired Erasmus. Erasmus translated the Bible to different languages. He needed printing press to make copies of his translation in order to let his ideas known by world and let ancient ideas spread. Therefore, if these two thinkers and artists did not exist, ancient ideas could not be spread, and the world may not evolve with new ideas. Because of his works, Christianity ideas started to spread among people. More and more people began to believe in Christianity again. There were a lot of people advocated the idea to reform the Catholic churches in the end, such as some famous advocators like Martin Luther and John Calvin. After Erasmus' death, there were more and more politicians wanting reformation of Catholic churches because of his writings. The churches finally gave in and reformed in 16th century. Erasmus changed people's way of thinking by publishing books, which is another important remarks from the Renaissance, expressing his opinions and inspired others, just like the core values of the Renaissance, the rebirth of arts. But how exactly does Erasmus affect us? Erasmus has a lasting influence on us field. He used to teach humanities and pacifism in school to earn his living. It inspired others to think of different ideas and published books. Erasmus wanted to reform the church, but unfortunately died before the church got to reform. Then Martin Luther continued to reform the Catholic churches with the help of others, which then provided education for people about God and Jesus. As more and more people read the Bible, Erasmus translated and agreed with him. They would translate the Bible into another language they knew. Thus the Bible can be read worldwide. After Erasmus died, his works were still read by people who believed in the reformation of Catholic churches, which became the arguments for the people to request for reformation. More people read the Bible and understood the meaning of God. They also got educated after the reformation of Catholic churches. More people followed the religion, which leads us to today, where there are still a lot of people believing in Christianity. Erasmus was an important person because he was the first one who wanted to advocate the reformation of Catholic Church's revolution.
As more works of translation had been published, they were kept until nowadays. Christians can use this as ancient evidence to prove that God does exist.
Erasmus changed the world because he advocated the idea of reforming the church. If he did not point out this idea, Catholic churches would continue to abuse people. As fewer people believe in this religion, it will eventually extinct. Now there are over 32% of people who are Christians, which makes Christianity the largest religion in the world. If Erasmus did not exist, we would not be holding the Bible today and read it in our own language. If Erasmus was not there to protest, there would not be any people who stood out. And that is the reason why can you become a Catholic.